Welcome to the podcast, man. How's it going?
Everything is going good. Thank you for having me, man. What's going on
Of
with you?
course. I'm doing all right. Just trying to get adjusted with like I said earlier, with like school and everything again. They've got some things that are a bit out of my control at the moment, but
Yeah,
other than that, it's going all right.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
hmm But if you just want to jump in to kind of tell people about what you're about, the podcast a little bit of your own, and then also just your testimony a little bit.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Antoine McGee. I have a brand new podcast out called Studio 124. What does Studio 124 stand for? Let me tell you, first of all, it is the most creative place in the world. It is the place where I feel the most creative. It is the place where God speaks to me, and I hope He speaks to you. This at Studio 124, we focus on three things. We focus on discipleship, we focus on mentorship and creativity because I believe that discipleship comes first. We are supposed to be disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ. Mentorship because everyone deserves and needs to be mentored in the areas of their expertise and also in life. And then creativity because we serve a creative God. And why not be creative as He has created us to be? A little bit about myself. I am 30 years old, recently just engaged, going to be married in July.
Congrats.
I am, oh, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Pray
hmm
for me. Keep
Yeah,
praying.
I will.
We are doing that in July. I'm engaged in love of my life, and I couldn't be happier. I got saved at the age of 8 years old at a little family church in Camden, New Jersey. And from there, I just kept following the Lord the best way I knew how. As a teenager, I kind of rebelled from God because I wanted to do my own thing.
hmm
They say those are the rebellious years, and for me, that was true. I rebelled a little bit, but I never forgot who He was. I never forgot what He meant to me. But um, I rebelled from 16 to about 20. Uh, Through those 4 years, from 16 to 20, I went through some very tumultuous times. I went away to school. I also was running away, also with running away from God and rebelling from God. I was running away from the call of God. I knew that He called me from a young age to preach, but it scared me to death, and I did not want to do it. So,
Yeah.
what else do you do when you're scared? You run.
Right. Right.
So I ran away, and about 20 years old, He snatched me back into His loving arms, saved my life from a car wreck, actually.
Wow.
And from there, I've been serving Him ever since as faithfully as I can. I'm not going to say every day I get it right. I'm not going to say I didn't have my own struggles. I'm not going to say I don't battle temptation every day. But from that moment on, I've served Him as faithfully as I know how. And what else is going on? 21, I got into ministry.
That's good. Yeah.
About part-time volunteering that felt like a full-time gig. Uh,
I
I
bet.
started out doing multimedia ministry, doing sound ministry, and then social media, which went from sound to social media, added on to men's ministry. Then men's ministry turned into youth ministry, and then youth
Mm.
ministry turned into young adult ministry. And then in 2018, I was ordained one of the youngest full-fledged deacons in my church. Um, and then from there, I've just been serving. Recently, I've just been appointed as the head of the sound ministry from last year, February
hmm
last year. Yeah, so
That's
it's about
awesome.
to be a year soon. And we've been going strong from there until now, and it's been a blessing. And right now, I am in the middle of doing, podcast and working on finishing up school. I'm in seminary. I go to
hmm
Liberty University online, so I understand what it feels like to be in school
Yeah.
all over again. On
Oh
top of
yeah.
working a full-time job and doing podcasting and trying to be a fiance and plan a wedding and pay for things, it's a lot of life. It's a
Yeah,
lot
it
of life.
is. It's a lot of life.
It's a lot of life. I
Shoot.
don't want to overwhelm people, but it's a lot of life. But I just whatever you're going through, whatever's going on in your life. I don't know why I'm being led to say this so early, but whatever's going on, just want to encourage whoever's listening in the first 6 minutes of this episode, 5 minutes of this episode. I don't know how long we've been talking, but to encourage you that with God, all things are possible. And also with God, you can do anything, that He gives you strength. And just focus on the day. Focus on
Yeah,
the 24 hours that you have. Don't
that's
worry
good.
about the 48, the 72, the full week. Yes, you can plan out your week and plan out what you're going to do, but every day you focus on the hours that are at hand, the hours that you have, and I guarantee you your peace will come. You won't be as stressed. You'll be able to handle everything the way that you need to handle because He's giving you the grace for today, and tomorrow belongs to God. All right.
That's good. And
Yeah,
you
man.
say that you were wondering why, you were led to say that so early. Well, honestly, I think it's probably, you know, I think it's the Lord just trying to give me advice as well because I mean, in just these couple days that I've started school back, it's been kind of an adjustment.
Yeah, man.
Um, because with how they do schedules now, it's not as simple as they used to do it. Everything's computer generated and there's
Oh
bound to be
boy.
mistakes, you know,
Hmm.
and also just human error. Like I have because they have counselors because I have 3,000 kids in the school. Just my school. It's a big school. And they, we're talking about like because the way they do schedules is kind of confusing. In certain aspects. And I was trying to get a certain class or whatever because it was going to be count as like a foreign language for because if you do that, a lot of colleges and stuff, they want foreign languages, even though
Oh yeah.
America
four
is,
years of foreign language. Four
yeah,
years. Oh yeah.
and so I was trying to get coding because coding in the state of Georgia is considered a foreign language because you're doing it's just like a different, obviously a different language when you look at it. It's not English or anything like
Hmm.
that you've ever seen, and so I was
Yeah.
trying to get something like that, and it's just been a one thing I have to just remember is because I've been thinking about obviously with all this, this is like for future stuff. This isn't even for. I mean, obviously it's for a class that I would do now, but all of it would help me in the future, not even right in this moment. Like I won't be able to do
Gotcha.
anything with it. So it's definitely something I've had to probably have to step back and just say, hey, like, don't stress about your future right now. He's gonna, God's gonna have your back. Just focus on your 24 hours, like you said. Um, and whether because I can do all the blaming I want, because I mean, unfortunately, I'm good at that. Like, you know, whether if it's the counselor or whether it's something I did or whatever, I'm good at like just, and I'm just like, stop doing that. Just sit back and just let him take the wheel. It's gonna be all right, And I have to really just and I've been having to learn that these last couple of days. Really, that's probably I mean, it could be for somebody else, but that really, I think that was for me.
No, man.
Um,
Listen, receive it if you felt like it was for you.
you
Receive
know,
it, bro.
I mean, I really feel like it was because I mean, it's just been because when I'm under like these stressful situations, I get kind of moody and like things like that. It just
Yeah.
because it don't feel right. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
And so I'm like, I just, because I'm all kind of just like, and me and my mom were a lot alike. And so she's like, I know what you're doing because I would do the exact same thing at your age. And I'm like, you're right. I know. But, and she's right, and we're pretty much exactly the same. I'm like her in a male form,
Yeah, I'm like my
so
mom in the male form too, so I get
yeah. But,
it.
um, but that was, just really, really good because, when you said that, it really just kind of hit me. I was like,
Yeah, man.
because like I said,
We
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was about to say, like, we have a tendency to stress over things we really can't control.
Oh yeah,
Your scheduling, as unfortunate as it sounds, that you really wanted something and it didn't work out, and I
yeah,
pray, God allows you to have favor to switch things around the way that you need to. But the most unfortunate part about life is that there's things that are out of our control,
yeah,
and we can't waste energy, time, and space stressing over things we can't fix.
right. And one thing. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So
Yeah, yeah.
no, no, no.
And
Go,
one
go,
thing.
go.
All right. And one thing that I was thinking was, with the class that I'm in now, because of course they have to put me in a class.
Yeah.
They can't just leave that spot blank. Is you know, I mean, who knows? Maybe with all these roadblocks that I've hit, maybe this is the class that I need to be in, and the Lord's going to use me for it. Even though I've been in similar classes just like this one, before. Like I just
Hmm.
took one like last semester, So I was thinking, why do I need to take something like this again? But who knows? There might be somebody in there that I end up talking to and lead them to Christ. I have no idea. Only the Lord knows that. That's just. But so that's the one way I've been trying to look at it in a positive way, even though this is
Yeah.
really, you know, put me, you know, for a loop, with trying to figure it out. But yeah, but that was really good, because obviously it spoke to me because I was able to really just put it all out there, if you will.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but
And that's
but
good. And
you
sometimes
said,
sometimes you got to get it out.
oh yeah, you do, and but I was after these last couple of days, after all this, I was really looking forward to this because I knew it would just it would kind of calm me down a little bit, because I get, like I said, I get kind of anxious and angry, and I'm like, let's have a conversation and just get out in the open. So
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
good, man.
that was good, and so you talked about, so obviously it kind of, you're like, was it when you were like going through the church, it kind of like transitions from like youth to college to and all different areas, right? um
Yes, sir.
yeah, so like, I know that for my podcast, it's more geared towards like the youth, so like, is there some differences that you see in the youth then compared to now? Is there like some differences that you see?
Um, you mean in regards to church
Just
or just in
yeah, well,
general?
just in general, really, like, just what, maybe like ways of thinking, like things they might do, like
Um, I think the youth today are extremely brilliant.
yeah.
You guys have things that we like when I was growing up, the first cell phone was a flip phone.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had to text using T9. If y'all don't know what that is, I would suggest you look it up.
I
That
have
means
no
you had to
idea.
press literally, the number one on the
Yeah,
phone has when you're dialing, there's letters under it.
right.
In order to text, so to text Apple, you had to do A and then another number, and then you had to keep going and
Oh
text it more than one time, like tap that number more than
gosh.
one time to do the write the whole word. And then
Right.
as technology evolved, like it would do the auto spell and kind of figure out what you were trying to say before you say it, and you were able to click it without having to type it all the way out. But that's how we started texting, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
crazy.
and then growing up while internet was evolving, like it's not what it is now is strictly amazing.
Oh
But
yeah.
we had the benefit of evolving with technology.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this generation, your generation, and the ones that are under you, and some that are a little bit over, are born with all this access to technology, all this
Mhm.
access to information, all this access to be creative and innovative and figure out things and be able to chat with people across the world, even though sometimes that's dangerous. But
Yeah.
um, being able to just have that access, and your school works on the computer now. I wish my
Yep.
school works on a computer. We had textbooks, okay? Y'all don't know what
Yeah.
backaches are like carrying textbooks in your book bag, okay?
Oh, I
Five or
don't want to
six
know.
textbooks in
Oh,
your
they
book
make up
bag,
for it in
but
the binders. They make for it. Well, they
right.
make up for it with your work. You know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
But
like,
the
yeah.
but the difference that I find is that you guys are extremely brilliant. You guys have creative ideas and different ways of thinking. The world is different, and a lot of young people that I know are making lives for themselves before they're 18. Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of young gamers who are multimillionaires.
Yeah.
There are young YouTubers who are making significant amount of money in their career, those that are on social media making money on social media, even some like yourself who are on podcasts with their family or just by themselves, who are very successful in what they do, and it's extremely good to see for this generation, because in our generation it was a little harder to get into
Yeah.
things like this. Now with the birth of YouTube, and we have all these podcasting formats, we have all these streaming services, we have all these ways for you to broadcast and turn your room into a studio or a broadcast studio, and you're able to do all these things. You can really reach for your dreams at a very young age. versus
Right.
having to go to school for it. So you guys are extremely brilliant. But on the backside of this, on the
Mm,
backside of your brilliance, I find the same thing that happens in every generation. Some of you extremely lazy. I'm
yeah.
not
Yeah.
gonna say everybody. I'm gonna say some
That's
extremely
true.
lazy.
And
No,
I'm guilty of it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
sometimes the lazy bug will just hit me, Um
Listen, and but
but
it's not gonna fade. As you get older. But I love this generation growing up because you guys have a hunger that others did not have.
mhm,
You guys have a passion that others didn't have, and you're learning a lot. Like you're learning from your family members, you're learning from your parents, you're learning from siblings, like what to do and what not to do. Uh, I can really attest, even for my generation, right? There's a lot of friends of mine who are in their 30s or a little bit younger, and our parents right now are asking us, how come we don't have children?
yeah,
Why? Because they had children by the time they were our age. And we're like, yeah, we don't want kids because we saw what you guys had to go through to raise us. And once
right.
we have kids, we want to be able to secure, those kids. We want to make sure that they have a future. We want to make sure we have a house. We want to make sure we have enough money to take care of those kids versus struggling to take care of the kid.
Mm,
And they didn't get it at first why we weren't ready to have children, but then after we explained it to them, it was like we learned from you guys.
yeah,
And then they were like, oh, okay. And that's the same thing you guys are doing. You're learning from us what to do, what not to do, and how to get into the career paths that you want to get into, and maybe even not even go to college to do so.
yeah,
Um, but if you want to go to college, you go. If you don't, you don't have to.
yeah,
And I just love, like I said, I love this generation. I love what you guys are doing. I do think some of you need good guidance
yeah,
because some of your ideas are crazy good. Um, but
yeah,
you need to hone them in a little bit and fine tune them before you do it. And yeah, 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 yeah. You guys are
yeah.
awesome. You
That's
guys are really,
good,
really awesome.
Um, and that's honestly a different take than from what I've heard, because of course when you look around like, social media and like just like I mean, I don't look at the news too much, but if you look at it or whatever, a lot of you hear a lot of bad things about the youth of today, right? Just the bad stuff. You don't hear
About the
or
good
at least
things. Yeah.
yeah, you don't hear the good things at all. Like so, the stuff you described is actually really, really refreshing to hear, you know, because
Yeah,
it is refreshing, it
yeah.
is.
Just
Um,
just to add on to what you just said, right?
mhm.
Real quick. I didn't want to cut you off. I'm sorry,
You're good.
but
You're good.
the the negative thing gets fed to us way too much,
It does.
and honing on the negative only gives life to the negative. And one thing about me, I want to give life to what's positive about things. Yes, do I see the negative things? Young kids addicted to drugs, young kids shooting one another, fighting, stabbing, dying, all these different things. Do I
Yeah.
see it? Yes. Have I experienced it in my own life where I had mentees pass away? Have I spent experiences in my own life where I've heard of someone who was younger than me being shot and killed? Absolutely. Um, but that's not something we need to go around parading into the minds, into the faces of everyone in the world, because then that leaves little room for hope,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So with your generation, you guys need to be um, empowered and encouraged, and in other words, really ministered to see your possibilities and to see the hope for tomorrow. Like I literally just watched a church service today where majority of the church was millennials, Gen Zs, and they said alphas, I think.
Hmm.
Um, they were the vast population of the church. And the person who was preaching, it was a guest preacher, he came in and was like, I see hope because there's so many young people in this church versus, we know a lot of churches have older people in there,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the youth are stuck in a corner somewhere, not participating in the service or sitting in the classroom eating chicken fingers and fries, watching peanut butter jelly, watching Prince of Egypt for the 15,000th time,
Oh.
in the back, and it's very disrespectful to them and their intelligence and their development. But in this service, I
Right.
was like, yo, this is something different. And he said out of his mouth, and I'm gonna stop right here. He said in his mouth, this service has been shifted by the Holy Ghost to minister to the young people because they need to know that they matter and that they have hope. And that's the same thing that I want to say, share with your audience, that you guys matter and we have hope in you. And you can do it. You can turn things around. You are going to be our next doctors, our next lawyers, our next influencers, presidents, senators, all these different things that we need in the world. You guys are next. We're in the mix of it all, but you guys are next. And if no one is going to go back and inspire you guys and affirm you guys, then what are we here for? What are we
Right.
here for? You know. And
Yeah.
if it's only going to be me that's going to do it, I'll take the reins and do it. I'll affirm every young person I see because at the end of the day, you don't know who they're going to be at the end of the day.
Right.
It's not about how you start. It's always about how you finish.
That's so good, because I mean, like I said, they again, people obviously they tend to either look at the negatives or whatever that may be, um, and like sure, there is some things that obviously, and this goes for every generation, they that we need to work on, of course there is, um, but like I love that your optimism for my generation. It's so inspiring to me, just because, like I said, we don't get as much of it, of those words like that, and it's just so good, because we don't know, like you said, you don't know who's going to be the next president, senator, whatever it may be. So it just that's so good, really, you know, and and I love your take on it, because it's like, so because one thing I've said is, and I don't know if it's maybe just a feeling that I've had or whatever, and it might,
Hmm.
who knows, but uh, sometimes I do feel like some, and it's not obviously it's not all of them, but some adults, they do look down on the youth of today in some ways, and
Hmm.
don't think that we're not as capable, things like that. And that was one thing that I've always said, as I kind of tag it along with this, is that that's the reason, part three, the reason why I wanted this podcast is to give our youth, voices, and that we're not all like lazy, and we have like we're not all like we're not all the same, is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah, yeah, for
um
sure.
so
No, yeah,
and
I get it.
just like because I know there is people out there that do think that we're just like we're the worst generations that's to come, but trust me, I'm sure we're there are people that live in our
No,
generation that have
no.
have really are going to change the world, because I mean I've got
Yeah,
friends that are
man.
like that, and they are so inspiring to me, like just an example, and I'm gonna have him on in April, because he's gonna be a part of my um in a year walk with Christ, because I've got 2 episodes planned for that. Um, but he's like top 5 of my entire class. I mean, he's going places, and just his he's so kind and caring and so smart, and I mean, he could, I mean, honestly, and make me laugh in a matter of seconds. He's so funny too, and with all that, um, I just think he has such great potential, and I know he's going to listen to this, and he'll know who it is, because he listens to just about every single one of them. He'll
That's
know
good.
exactly who it is.
Shout out to you,
Um,
my brother, whoever
yeah.
you are.
hmm
Yeah, man.
And he's uh but that he is one of the ones that gives me hope, and there's so many more, like all the ones that I brought on the podcast that are young, they, and of course I do choose who comes on, because that reflects on me,
Absolutely,
um
as you should. Control your
but
audience. Yes,
you
sir.
know but all of them, they've brought something so different to the table, and they all inspire me in so many different ways. Like, just an example, like, or a few examples, like Eli, when I brought him on, he said that, I know it's kind of hard to hear him, but um for his, like, he said that he was the one that started his like a like, not ministry, but like Bible study in his baseball group. Like, that was so awesome to me, because I had no idea. We've been friends for a couple of years now. And it's just stuff like
Yeah.
that that you hear. And then another one was, when you're talking about some of some of us can be lazy. On the opposite, my friend Mikey, he came on to talk about the Christian work ethic, and that has really stuck with me, and trying to like push into that for 2023. Just um, looking at things heartily in a way, and just and just going whatever it may be, regardless if it's like schoolwork or this or something else, just do it with all your heart, and just put all your all into it. That was one, and just all these messages have stuck with me in so many different ways. And they also just give me, they do give me hope for what the future is for my generation. Um, but they really do inspire me, each of them, So, and I
Yeah,
hope they
and
do it
and
for
don't
everybody else.
and don't neglect your influence as well. You're I believe you are one that God's going to use to bring these conversations to the forefront. He's already doing it. You're talking about your friends that are in your circle group at school. When I was in high school, I wish I had friends that had the same. Well, we did have the same habits, but they weren't godly. So
Right.
I wish I had friends that had godly habits, and even I wish I was even a little bit more godly because I hid behind it because I didn't want to be seen as a church boy.
Yeah.
But most people knew that I was.
Yeah.
They knew that I would go to church on Sundays. They knew that I would go to Bible study until my mom didn't make me go. It was a choice of mine to want to pursue God on my own, which I
Mhm.
think was probably the best decision she ever did for me
Right.
because a lot of kids are forced to go to church because in
Mhm.
this house we're going to church. you
Yeah.
know you got to
Yeah.
get up and go to church on Sunday versus having that child really desire to go
Yeah.
and develop and be discipled. But what I'm going to say to you is that what you're doing matters, and what you're doing is going to ultimately is already changing lives because you have people listening. I know you do. You don't have to divulge how many listens and how many people are paying attention to your podcast, but
Right.
one thing that me and Donovan uh share a lot, even in private through our text messages and even in phone calls because we talk all the time, as I tell him that it's not about the numbers.
It's not. Right.
Like the reason why we started what we're doing, the reason why you started what you were doing was to make an impact. And making an impact does not mean thousands. Making an impact could mean one person, and then that one person touches another person, and then that another person touches another person. Before you know it, there's 1,000 people who were touched by that one thing that you did, and it was one person who did it. Word of mouth is still the greatest source of information,
Like
and
yeah.
we really need to hone in on the fact of why we do what we do. And I hear in your voice, oh God, I feel something creeping up. I hear in your voice, this passion, and this desire to see the generations change, and desire for people in your generation and those all over the world to be impacted and to do what they're really called to do. And you're just giving platform for it, and
Yeah.
I believe God's honoring it, and uh, you're gonna see some things that is just going to be amazing, like happen to you at a young age if you
Yeah.
once you continue to do it. And it may not even be podcasting for years in on end. It may be you shifting from podcasting to then leading small groups, and then you who knows, who knows. But I feel a movement inside of you, and I know God's gonna
Well, that means so much, man. That really does, because it's encouragement like that that just, of course, it just wants me to keep going,
honor that.
that really, really does, because of course, sometimes with because one thing that of course with social media, it can be a wonderful thing and also can be a very bad thing in different ways. You know, one thing with social media is that we often get caught up in the numbers, right? And because I'm part of
Oh
that
yeah.
generation that gets caught up in the numbers, I will admit, sometimes I do look at them and I'm like, why didn't that, because I think it was a good conversation or whatever. Why didn't
Hmm.
that, go further? Because, that was like I felt encouraged by it. I want it to go to other people. Like, why didn't the views go up on it, or whatever. But, that, I have to, sometimes I wish I thought this way instantly, but it doesn't happen, is,
Well, you're
hey, it went to the people. It might have went to the people that it was
yeah,
posed
man.
to, and then that's all it needed to be. You never
Right.
know. Um,
Exactly. And I'll share this quick transparent moment. Like
mhm.
Studio 124 wasn't my first podcast.
Yeah.
Like I had a podcast called Conversations at the Table, which I
Mhm.
did from February to probably late September was the last time I operated under that name.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons why I stopped podcasting was because I looked at the numbers and got caught looking at the numbers, and it
Yeah.
was like and then we know what happens when we start dwelling on things. Then we start thinking and hearing and talking ourselves out of things and saying is what I'm doing really matter? Does it really matter?
Mhm.
Is it really making an impact? Now, granted, I've heard from people who said, "Oh man, that really blessed me," and all that. But I'm wanting, as you said, the 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 big numbers,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
people to come, the people to be like, "Man, that was amazing," and then the following go up and keep
right.
going and keep going and keep going, and then I had to, I was really discouraged. And the person who helped me, I'm gonna say his name again because everybody knows who he is, Donovan Jones.
Yes,
He
sir.
came he came in like a nice little breath of fresh air and was like, dude, you gotta keep going. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I genuinely didn't want to podcast.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
he was like, dude, you have a voice, you have, the God told you to do it. He didn't tell you to stop. Don't let the enemy get in between this. And after a period of time of me sitting and praying and refocusing, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this in a way that is true to me. And
Yeah,
then that's where this new platform came. And I love it even more now than before. I've had guests on there that I didn't think I would ever have.
yeah.
I even have a
You never
guest
know.
coming this week. I have a guest coming this week is probably the biggest guest that I'm ever going to have on the show.
That's awesome.
That's going to be released later on, and when you guys see who it is, you're going to be like, "Whoa!" So it's just like, seeing the small things, and for whoever's out there and looking at your algorithm or how many likes you get and how many followers you have and how many people replay your stuff on TikTok and all that other stuff. Listen, um, remember the reason why you did it. Did you do it for views? Did you do it for fame? If so, that's why you feel the way that you feel. But if you're
Mhm.
doing it for a greater purpose, if you're doing it, even if it's not for God, but if you're doing it so that others can be educated or informed or inspired or just see your creativity, then continue to do it. It'll pay off one way or another. Even if it's one, two, three, four, five people, even if there's all your family members, so what?
Mhm. Exactly.
you know,
Hey, that's five
do
people
it.
right there. Hey, or however many it may
Mhm.
be. But you're talking about like your, like I guess you could say big person that you're having on. I remember, just a little funny thing. I don't know if he told you this, but when Donovan was going to have Hovey on, I offered him. I was like, if you want me to, I can make you like a cool graphic or something. Cause I don't like to brag on things, but I'm all right at doing that stuff. And making stuff like that. And I was like, if you want me to, I can, make you something like that. And he's like, I might have to let you do that after he comes on because he didn't want me to he didn't want me to know his name. Like he wanted it to happen, so much because he
Mhm.
wanted it to be smooth sailing all the way through. They recorded that episode, but he didn't even tell
Yeah.
me his name. He was like, because it was that big to him, and it was so awesome to just go and listen to them. And I'm kind of having like it hadn't gotten ironed out yet, but I guess you could say I've been saying this. My holy is like my at least for now is my pastor. I've been wanting for him to come on. He said yes. I just need to work out a time. Um,
That's
but
good.
but because one thing that I think is so cool is not. I know that not every single one of them are, but mine at least. He's on social media on certain platforms. Now, one way that I think that's so good is because he can connect with the people in his church, in the church, that he preaches at, and sees how their lives are, and and just and also he can get feedback because people are always saying, what a great sermon that was or whatever, so he gets encouragement as well, not just from word of mouth, but also, social media. Um, but it's like, but I mean, it's been an absolute blessing though to, with Donovan and Cody and all of them, just to like meet them and talk with them. It's been so awesome. And it's been something that I didn't even think would happen. Like today, I'm wearing Donovan's shirt, like, his Call to Act podcast shirt. Yeah.
Shout out to Call to Act.
Yeah, I got,
Mhm.
for Christmas I got some Uptown Nine, merchandise from Cody, and I got the Call Dak T-shirt. I was like, I'm doing this, like, these look, because they're nice thick T-shirts, and I wear T-shirts all the time. So if I'm
Yeah.
gonna wear a T-shirt, I'm gonna rep, one of my friends' stuff. So
Yeah, man. He
but
told me about you.
yeah,
Um, back, I forgot when it was, but he was like, dude, you got to check out this guy, Young Minds podcast. So I started listening, to you before we even really like started interacting a little bit,
Yeah, yeah,
and I was like, it's something with this guy, and then Donovan was like, yeah, I'm gonna be on a show, and I was like, okay, cool. And
yeah.
then in the back of my mind, because this always happens, either if I'm on someone's show first or Donovan's on someone's show first, one of us ends up being on there after.
Right.
It's just hilarious. So
That's
when he
hilarious.
told,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's actually quite funny. Like it turns out that either sometimes we have the same guests, or we may end up having you know similar opportunities to appear on someone else's show, and
Right.
it's been a blessing, like sticking close to friends like this. And
Oh yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
benefit one of the benefits of becoming a podcaster and getting engulfed into this whole new world of podcasting is the people you meet.
Definitely.
And you literally just said that out of your mouth, and I honestly can't say it enough, like how much of a blessing doing this has been for me. I
Yeah.
never would have met you had I not
I know,
started.
which and I'm loving this conversation. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got me in such a good mood right now. So, oh,
yeah.
but it's like it's one thing that I just and I know that me and Justin talked about it some, because on our episode that's going to be coming out this Friday, we talked about it. We both didn't expect this was the thing. We didn't expect this would be the thing we were doing at this moment. Is
Yeah.
on a podcast, like because I at first how it kind of came about for me was I kind of followed, like Cody, just kind of where he went. Cause I was gonna support him, and he was a good guy. Why not? And he
Yeah, why
started
not?
this whole of sound mind stuff. I was like, so okay, well,
Yeah. Shout out
what
to
you trying to
Cody.
do? Yeah, I was like, what you trying to do? And I was like, because I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, And then he started the podcast, and I started listening. I remember I listened to that first episode 3 times because I thought it was so cool. I was, it was such an encouragement to me, and I'd never listened to a podcast before, never touched the app on my phone,
Listen, you and me
and it was
both.
one of my favorites.
Yeah,
You know?
you and me both. Like I haven't really like before podcasting. I probably listened to um maybe one podcast.
Yeah.
And it's Dr. Anita Phillips, because my fiance would listen to her all the time.
Yeah.
So, that's what got me into listening to different people on podcasts. Every now and again I would listen to like Rick Warner and all that years ago, but then I
Mhm.
stopped. But then once God laid it on my heart to do this, I was like, well, I got to start listening to people and listening to how they do it. And Cody is definitely one of the ones I need to add.
Yeah.
I need to add him in. I hear his name thrown around a lot.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and Justin, which Justin is this?
From Be a Man podcast. If I yeah.
That Justin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. We got a little network community going on. Shout
Yeah.
out to you guys, man.
Yeah. And I'm loving it. Like that was one thing when I talked with because I've had this will be the third interview that I've had like for this year
Hmm.
already, and I talked with Ben
Wow, that's
from
great,
Ben
man.
Shelby podcast, and
Okay.
Benjamin Shelby's podcast. Have you heard of him? If you
I
have.
haven't. I didn't get a chance to listen to that episode yet, but I will.
Yeah, he's and that was funny because he had started his podcast, obviously before mine because he's got way more episodes than I do. But uh, one thing that he was telling me is that for a while he thought he was like alone, at least in just making podcasts, Christian podcasts.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
then
man.
Donovan comes along, Cody comes along, Justin comes along, and then for me at least, it was so awesome for because Donovan kind of hooked us up, for me to meet Ben because for a while I thought I was the only youth out here trying to encourage people on podcasts, and well, lo and behold, there's Ben right here trying to do the same thing, and we've been on each other's shows already. It's kind of funny. I was the last episode that he recorded in 2022, and then he came back from a break after being sick and stuff, and then he recorded my episode with me on my show
Oh,
before doing
Godcast.
another episode. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Godcast.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he
Ah,
recorded. So we recorded with each other. So like my first episode of 2023 was with him. His last episode of 2022 was with me. So that was just a funny thing. It's like, well, what in the world? How'd that work out? But
Yeah,
he's
man.
just a really encouraging guy, and I think one of the his episodes he's doing live in front of like people in his church, like just and it
Nice.
and I remember sitting there and I was thinking this guy he's only a year older than me, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, that is so inspiring, because that takes some nerve. I mean, just to get up there and just like, I mean, I've done something similar to that. Like
Yeah, man.
I've read a paper in front of a bunch of people,
Hmm.
but that's telling the word of God. That's 10 times more important than some paper. I'm telling that that it. Oh boy, um, and I was sitting there and I was just like, bravo, because that is crazy to think about. And who knows? I mean, I may get to the point where the Lord allows me to do that someday, but just to hear him do that, because I mean, I wasn't sure if it was live at first, but then I heard some like people clearing their throat in the back. I was like, wait a minute, this is live. Hold up, he's out. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, man.
um,
Listen, dude, you got to sometimes you got to go out there and do it scared.
oh yeah, you do. And one thing that it was so funny is that just to talk to him, and like we're trying, we have some of the same struggles in terms of putting out episodes, and because like we both have school, he has a job, I don't, but it's just like we have some of the same struggles, so we're like, how we get this episode out, you know,
Right.
trying to get one out. And I remember for a while, after he didn't post one, I was like, "You all right? You're usually pretty consistent." And I know a bunch of people checked on him, and I think he said he was like, I mean, he's had a bunch of double whammies. Like I think so a few things happened in his church, like some passings, and then he got sick,
Yeah.
and then and it was crazy. I was like, dude, yeah, you needed that break. Like you needed to sit back and just chill out.
Yeah, man.
But
Because I mean,
it's been so cool.
as you know, like doing once you start doing something for God,
Yeah.
right? Once you start doing something meaningful, even if you do start doing something that's meaningful and influential, attacks come.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Attacks come,
Yeah.
distractions come, and what I love about the hearing the story between the two of you, like I remember Justin now, I remember Ben now. It's
Hmm.
a lot of you guys, so let's try to remember
Yeah.
everybody's
It's a
names.
lot. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a lot
people.
of you guys. So it's like while you're talking, I'm like, wait, I know this guy. Okay, wait,
Yeah.
where do I know him from? And good old Instagram just helped my rejog my memory. But um, what I love to hear, what's really good about your story is, when you get ready to do something great, you need collaboration.
Hmm.
You need godly collaboration. You need community, right? So
It's more fun
Donovan
that way
felt the
too.
same way. Yeah, huh? Oh yeah,
It's
it's
more fun
definitely
that
way
way.
more fun. It's
Yeah,
definitely way
it's way
more
more
fun.
fun that way.
And Donovan felt that way when we first met. He was like, dude, I thought I was by myself. And I was like, nah, I'm here. I said, I know how lonely it can be, but now we're here. Like, and that happened on a whim, like just through Instagram. And I'm like, who's this
Yeah.
guy? Hitting me up. And we
Yeah.
just, hit it off from there. And we have a show together called Sons of Thunder.
Yeah, I
Like,
was about to ask you about that. Good
okay, come on,
segue.
ask me the question. Go ahead, ask me the
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
you know, I mean, because we were talking, because I was talking about that, because I wanted to kind of, because I just hadn't had the chance to kind of go over to your show, because like you said, there's so many people, right? And I just kind of wanted to go over and see what you were about and everything. But I went ahead and just looked at one of the Sons of Thunder episodes, on YouTube, and
Hmm.
I was, because I asked Donovan, I was like, so when are y'all going to discuss season three? Because I've watched season three, and oh my gosh, the intensity is
Yeah.
ramped up.
Oh my goodness, the intensity is crazy. I don't want to
And
give spoilers out,
we can't say
but
too
I
much because
need to hear.
Donovan hasn't watched it yet. So,
I know
oh,
he hasn't watched it because I
oh,
told him about it. I told him about it Sunday night because I watched it and I was like,
yeah.
dude,
So we
you
were both
gotta
messaging
watch
him about
this.
it then because I was messaging him too.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm about to over here crying. Like,
Dude, like tears,
ooh,
literal tears. Every episode this season has touched me in a very emotional way. Like
yeah,
every episode has really has hit the emotional bag. But Sons of
yeah,
Thunder was totally Donovan and God's idea.
that's awesome.
Had nothing to do with me. I wasn't looking to do another show. I was struggling alone to do my own one consistently,
Yeah.
and we ended up both loving The Chosen. I got into The Chosen probably the summer of 2021, maybe,
Hmm.
and fell in love with it instantly, binged it a few times,
Yeah,
at least the first two seasons. And then, of course, we know season three is still out. I saw it in theaters when the two first episodes. I paid that money. Yes, I did.
me too. I
Because
loved it. Mm.
that's how much of a supporter I am. If something
Yeah,
means something to me and I love it, I'm going to support it. And Sons of Thunder just was birthed from our love of the Chosen and covering it. So
I
yes,
love it.
to answer your question, we are going to continue filming and taping. We have something on the books for the next couple weeks where we're going to finish up season two
Yeah.
and get into three. And just as a little tidbit, a little early
Ooh.
exclusive for
Yeah.
your users, we're going to do a few of those episodes live.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I heard y'all were talking about the one I listened to. It was from the one of season twos, and you were like, "Yeah, we should do few of these live." Like, yeah, I heard you say that.
yeah. So
Um.
we're going to work on that. We're going to do those live in person. I want us to get caught up, even though it's really only like 3 weeks. But I want us to get caught up to the point where we can really start doing, at least for when season four comes out, whenever they decide to start filming that, if they already are.
Mhm.
Um,
I've already got the script. I know that. Yeah.
I know that, I do know that.
Mhm.
I definitely listened to his live stream on Sunday,
Me
but
too.
the
Yeah.
but the goal is that we start doing it conjunction when they start airing on Sunday.
Oh, that would be
Like
good. Yeah.
we try to get there as soon as possible and watch it live with fans and do all that because we did get permission from the Chosen to do this show.
Really, that's
We,
awesome.
yeah, I it was one of the things that was big on for me is like if we do this, I don't want to get into any legal trouble.
Legal trouble. Yeah.
And just because they're Christians and they're doing things for God doesn't mean there's not a business aspect to this. Because they are paid actors.
Right.
Everybody there is professional. Nobody's there is volunteering like we do in church. So, so except those extras, they get they're volunteers.
Right.
But the whole aspect of reaching out to them and trying to get through the producers and finally getting somebody and they gave us the written consent that we could use the content the best that we knew how to continue to spread the message and get people to watch the show, and that's what we've been doing.
That's so
And
awesome.
I honestly do miss taping them. We do
Yeah.
have some episodes that still need to air, which is partly my fault. I'm going to be honest, partly my fault because I haven't edited them all the way I wanted it to. It's just been a lot going on in life.
Yeah.
But that's no excuse. We still have a job to do, and I told Donovan, yeah, I'm gonna get those done so that we can have those ready to go coming forward. But I didn't know you were watching the Sons of Thunder. I'm glad you watch it, dude.
Yeah,
I'm really
'cause
glad you watch
I started out. I was like, yeah, 'cause like I just wanted to, kind of hear a little bit of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really good. Just the discussion of it and everything.
it, dude.
And
Dude, we
one
have a lot of
episode in
fun.
particular, yeah, one episode in particular, I can't wait for you to get to. And Donovan's seen this one because it was one of the first two in theaters, so I can mention this.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
with the especially with the scene with this little James. Oh my
The
gosh.
Jesus and Little James.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
with I don't know
yeah.
if like with me that really hit me because, and I've said it on so many episodes now, but it's just so good. Because I do have mild cerebral palsy. Now, you know, is it like am I in pain all the time? Like little James is? No, but I do have a slower walk and things like that. And I have asked some of the same questions. Like it's fine. Just I don't want to hold you guys up or anything like that. I've said stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that really just, I remember me and mom just sitting there in the theater, like we were both looking at each other because we knew exactly what we were both thinking. It just hit us
Hmm.
on such a, different level. And,
Yeah, man. I
it was so
believe.
good.
I believe. Oh, I'm getting chills thinking about that scene right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that scene literally, it wrecked me so bad that as I literally had to walk out the theater, sat in the car and
Really.
bawled. I cried. Like I
Oh my
cried
gosh.
like a big baby because I just instantly felt for everybody, and even including myself. Like I don't
Yeah.
have any physical disabilities, but the the just feeling for everybody, including myself, like who feel like less than, or waiting for God, waiting for Jesus to show up to fix a situation that he could easily fix, and
Yeah.
wondering why you're not doing it. How come you're not stepping in? How come you see me, right? I'm with you. We're together. How come I'm still dealing with this, right?
Right.
And automatically, it was just one of those overwhelming moments. And then as I was crying out to God, literally crying out to God, like crying and praying at the same time, like one of those cries, like
Yeah.
one of those type of cries, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
and, and literally at the end, all I felt and actually heard in my heart was, "My grace is enough."
That's good.
And I was just like, okay. And for when we get to that scene, I don't know if we're gonna be able to hold it together, because I have not watched that episode since I saw it in theaters, because
I
I
have.
kind of
I
wanna
went and
I want
watched
to
it
keep
again.
it I want to keep it fresh, like when we go over it and get prepared for that episode, because it's so impactful and it's so meaningful to a lot of people. And I think this
Yeah.
season is gearing up to be one of the most emotional but controversial seasons ever, because we know what's coming.
Yeah.
We know what we're leading into, and quite frankly, and I've said it off the air with Donovan, and I said it probably on the air with him, I am not looking forward to the crucifixions episode.
And it, ooh,
Uh, I
mm,
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle it. I don't
I
I
know.
don't know. I
Because I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't, and I'm sure there has there. I mean, I don't know if there's been other. I'm sure there has been other adaptations of that, but like, you know, in that context, because obviously, the way that the actor Jonathan plays Jesus
Yeah,
and the way he
man,
portrays him is just so like,
it's so
because he wants to show
refreshing.
the human side.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
it's
one thing I've
super
tried to explain to people. It's like, well, they were like, well, some things aren't, of course there's going to be inconsistencies because it's hard to make a show just based off the word. Unfortunately, you have
Yeah,
to kind of put some
it'd
things
be
in there.
very boring if they took
Um,
just scripture.
yeah, and I
Just the
think,
scriptures alone, it would be boring.
and I don't know who said it. Again, we have so many people we listen to. I think it might have been Donovan, maybe I'm not sure. But one of them said like, of course Jesus had to have some sort of you know charismatic personality, otherwise his the disciples wouldn't have followed him. Like,
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
he wouldn't have just been this monotone voice like "Come follow me." He would have, he would have had
Yeah,
some
like
humor
he
about
couldn't
him
have
and
he
a
couldn't have
personality.
been a boring man
No,
responsible for 12 other men, plus the women that were following him. Not
exactly.
to mention, not to mention, it wasn't just 12. If you read the scriptures, there were like 72 other people with
Yeah,
him all the time. The 12 were his closest disciples, but he had others that were following him the entire time of his ministry. And as you said, like he's human. Like he's 100% God,
right.
100% human,
Mhm.
right? Just like we are 100% human, but we have 100% spirit. Like there's not a 50-50. So with this adaptation of The Chosen, one of the things that I love is, you pointed out already, is that we see Jesus' humanity, but we see the perfect mix of
Mhm.
humanity and divinity. You see the moments where he is truly tapping in his divine side. And then you see the moments where he's having fun being a man, enjoying life, which
Right. Yeah.
what we're supposed to do. Like like I people get on my nerves, and I'm not going to say it just the way how I feel it. People get on my nerves with the fact that they try to paint Jesus as this hardcore, monotone, no nonsense, no laughing, no joking person, and he wasn't that way. It's hard for me to believe that he was that way, because
Yeah.
he didn't create us to be that way. He was a perfect man without sin, who lived in a flawed world, but he didn't sin, who was 100% God at the same time, who went about doing miracles, but he also had fun. He also had personality. He had friends. Lazarus was one of them. He had Mary and Martha, who he would see often. He had a mother, he had a father, he had brothers. These different things. He wasn't just this guy who was a loner who decided, okay, I'm going to go start doing miracles now and then I'm going to die. Like, no, that's not
Yeah.
what he wanted to do. Like, he was showing us how to be human. And a lot of Christians, young and old, need to get off your high horse. I'm sorry for saying it this way, but get off your high horse and really tap into life is more enjoyable. It's not supposed to be super hard all the time, and that's one of the reasons why I love The Chosen. Not to mention how it has strengthened my relationship with Christ. It
Yeah.
definitely has. Has everything been 100% accurate? No. Has things been creative license? Yes, but that's what makes the show great. You don't take it for it's literally a Bible adaptation because
Right.
that's not what they said. It's a show based off of the lives of the 12 men who followed him.
That's good.
It's that
Yeah.
show, and
But
it shows us what it's like to be chosen.
that's good. Yeah. And I'll say this one more thing, and then we can kind of wrap up, and you can kind of say your final thoughts and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
But one thing that I am interested to see how they do it is Judas. When you see him first pop up on screen, you're like, whoa. But I'll have to kind of discuss that a little bit
uh,
more, in a later
no, no, no.
episode.
I,
But
I
I am
think
kind of like, ooh,
I am intrigued as well. Only
you know,
reason why is because right now his character, first of all, they haven't really done too much with it yet.
yeah,
As of right now. But I could see how he can slip into what we know him to be,
right,
right? But I think that episode or that scene or that portion of the show is probably going to be very emotional and probably like a very hurtful time for a lot of us because we're just like, ah, Judas, no, and,
yeah,
and it's just going to be like, dude. But then we got to ask ourselves, how many times have we been Judas?
yeah. That's good. That's really good. Oh,
How many
but
times have we been Judas, man?
yeah. But is there any final thoughts that you want to say before we wrap up and yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, for your audience, for those that are listening, I just want to just remind you guys that you matter. Remind you guys that you can do whatever you want to do, and whatever's in your heart that God has placed in it, go ahead and go for it. Whatever's in your hands, build it. He's given it to you for a reason, and trust Him with the unknown. A lot of times in life we're afraid of it, but trust Him with it, and continue to follow Charlie Banks. Man, he's going places. I
Thank
believe
you.
he really is. He has a gentle spirit, and I have not met him in person, but I can hear it in his voice. He has a loving heart, and I believe you're going to change the world too. And remember, changing the world doesn't mean you got to be on the platform in front of 10 thousands and millions of people. Changing the
Exactly.
world is changing one person at a time. That's how we change the world. And I believe you're doing that. And those that are listening will do the same because they're following behind you. And stick with this guy. Stick with
Thank
this
you.
guy.
Thank
Watch
you.
The Chosen. Support podcasters. We need your support
Yeah.
as we're doing the things that God is calling us to do. And Charlie, I'll put you on the spot real quick. So when we get to season 3, will you be one of our guests?
Sure. I'd love to do
All
it.
right, let's do it, man. Let's do it. We're gonna get you on there so we can get you on the chosen screen and have a
Yeah.
great time dissecting
Yeah.
the episodes, man.
I mean, especially if you want to bring me on for that, particular scene
Oh
I
yeah,
talked about.
I I, I
Um,
think I think we're gonna bring you on for that one. That'd be perfect.
I just, because that one really just kind of just, I mean, there's a bunch more that, have hit me too, but I can't mention them because people haven't seen it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but that one really, hit. But where, that would be awesome and I can't wait for it. But to wrap it up, where can people find you, like social media wise, things like that?
All right, social media wise, you can find me on Instagram at Studio 124 Podcast. That is my podcast page. On YouTube, you can find me at the Studio 124. because now you can at your YouTube pages, so you can
Yeah,
just
that's good. I didn't know
type
that.
that in.
Hmm.
Yeah, they did something new recently, so you can add now.
Yeah.
I'm not really active on podcast formats on Facebook just because it's a lot of work and I don't feel like dealing with it. But if you want to
Yeah.
find me on Facebook, my name is Antoine T. McGee on Facebook and TikTok. I am on TikTok as well. I believe it is under Twan Music. Yes, Twan Music on TikTok. I'm thinking about creating a page just for the podcast. I'm not sure yet. Uh, I don't feel like starting completely over. I think I'm gonna build off of the one that I already have.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where you can find me. And if anyone's interested in being on the show, just hit me up in the DMs, and I'll get you guys on there as long as you match what we're trying to do.
Hey, I'd love to come on. I'd love it.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen, I was going to do that off the air, but since you already put me on the spot, I'm going to schedule you out, man. We could definitely talk about that and get you
Yeah.
on. I have a specific topic. I think I want to get
Ooh,
your
like that.
insight on.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
I
not.
don't remember if do you if you were hey, do you record Mondays
I
or no?
record. I can record on Mondays. I can record
Ooh.
on Tuesdays. I can record on Thursdays or Fridays. It
Well,
doesn't matter to
that's good
me.
because I'll be off for MLK. So, you know.
Yeah, same. I'll be off for MLK, so we could probably do something earlier in the day because I think I got Donovan later on that night, so
Yeah.
we can do something
Man, you'll be
later on.
hitting both of us up that day.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's cool. I usually do 2 podcasts, 3 podcasts a week, so
That's
that's fine with
awesome.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I can't wait, man. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Really, I mean,
Absolutely, bro.
this is really just brightened my spirits for the day. Cause like I said, I was kind of in a funky mood, but now I'm feeling good. So thank you so much. It's been
You're welcome, man.
um an awesome conversation, and I can't wait for it to air. So,
Yes, sir.
all right, see you later, man.
Deuces, man.